coming up in Queens, and I am here, Star Saxton, Deep Thoughts from the Dashboard. So, yesterday's Sun Chat, we spoke specifically about grading practices and grading policies and what people spend time grading students on, and a lot of what I was talking about was compliance-based issues that impact grading in traditional settings in particular. It's something I spoke about this weekend, and it's something I write about a lot and speak about a lot. And I think that there's a real concern. A lot of us function inside of these traditional atmospheres where there might be pockets of progressive thinking, but the actual pervasive thought in the environment is not necessarily progressive, because there are lots of voices we're trying to attend to, whether they're voices of the students who come from a system that has traditionally sort of taken them through this idea of what achievement looks like and how it's communicated, and then there are the teachers who grew up in that same system and are now teaching in it and are now trying to also communicate with families, which are the other really big piece of the puzzle, because families, although no longer in education necessarily, some of them are, some of them aren't, they have a traditional understanding of what success looks like for their child and what it doesn't look like, and communicating with parents about these specific things, I think, is something that is a challenge for all of us. So part of what came up yesterday during the chat that I always find very interesting is you have one or two folks who, extra credit, extra points, that comes up as one of the compliance issues. I'm always the first one to admit, at the earlier part in my career, I was definitely the kind of person who basically did everything that I kind of rail against now. So I understand the mindset. I had the mindset. I fight against the mindset on a regular basis. There are some very deep traditions inside of me in the old system, coming from as a recovering perfectionist, as you will. Grades and school were were a part of how I defined myself as a kid. And that definition really stuck with me. I mean, if you ask me now about my experience in school, I would tell you that I was an overachiever. I would tell you that, getting good grades and being in school and achieving was very important to me. And I had good relationships with my teachers, and they always, yes, I am a recovering perfectionist, and I'm glad that you are too. It's hard work. It's really hard work, because it was the one area of my life that I could control. There's lots of other crazy stuff going on around me, and my level of effort and my level of learning was something that was definitely mine. I fortunately, at my high school, there were other outlets. I was in a few singing groups, and I did have a really amazing art teacher who kind of let me do whatever I wanted, and I had that creative outlet. And I also had a teacher, my English teacher, Mrs. Cashman. She read the poetry that I was writing outside of school and encouraged me in a lot of ways to continue to share my voice. And we talked about literature, and we talked about all kinds of things, which is one of the reasons why when my students approach me in that place, I try to be as open and receptive as possible, because I remember the impact that it had on me to just have a space where I knew somebody just saw me and not all of the other stuff. And I think that that's part of the real problem with grades, is we start labeling kids, we start labeling their achievement in general. It's stifling. It's really restrictive. Students start to believe that they're bad at math, or they don't know how to write, or whatever it is. And I really try very hard to change the language that we use around that. So when they tell me they're bad at something, I just try to refocus them and remind them that they're not bad at it. Perhaps they didn't have the best experience with it yet. Maybe they need new strategies. I think that if they're willing to work as hard as they need to, or as hard as they want to improve wherever the perceived weakness is, then they can improve where they are. Will they be the best at it? Maybe they'll be the best they can be at it. But I think that that's the other thing too. School right now, in the traditional sense, is extraordinarily competitive, and I think grades really play into that, as does compliance. And lots of people say you're playing the game of school and you're doing all of these kinds of things, and it's the truth. I mean, there's a certain system you have to play by, and it's not just kids, it's teachers too. And I'm learning that more in my later career. In the beginning, it was just trying not to drown. It was keeping my head above water. It was doing what I was told all the time. And I did. I did it. And I took on responsibilities, and I continue to take on responsibilities even in my career now, in the setting that I'm in. And it's challenging because I want to help make my school the best place possible for the kids that I work with. And I feel like sometimes the people whom I report to take advantage of that. As you guys, as each of you all out there know, some things happen in schools that aren't ideal all the time, and being flexible is important, but also being able to identify when you've gotten to a place where it's not helping you anymore, and being okay with saying, you know what, this situation isn't right anymore, and it's time to start considering something else. So with all of my work with grades and compliance, and trying to help kids understand that it's not about the points they accumulate, it's not about their ability to follow what I expect of them, it's their ability to interpret what's in front of them and creatively come up with some kind of way to show me what they know, and show themselves that it's a continual process of learning. And that's where I am for this week. It's actually a long week ahead. I'm going to be at school late today and tomorrow because we have meetings after school. Wednesday, I'm taking the kids to the college library. I will be periscoping from there. They get their first college library lesson, and they'll be able to do some research on a couple of projects they're working on. Thursday is portfolio conferences, so I'll be at school until 8 o'clock at night, hoping to periscope some of those conferences if parents and students agree to it. Certainly want to honor their privacy if that's what they would like. And then on Friday is a half day because we have parent-teacher conferences in the afternoon. So it's a busy week, and it's Monday though, and I'm always positive. Always positive. Have to stay positive even sometimes when you feel like you can't be. Anyway, I hope everybody else has a great Monday, a good Celebrate Monday, and hopefully I'll be seeing everybody around. Have an awesome day. And remember, every choice you make has an impact, so be aware of why you're making the choices that you do. Have a good one, folks.